And welcome back to Hannity. So, will Gary Burns' tell-all book have an impact on the presidential elections come November? Joining us now, former Clinton pollster, Fox News contributor Doug Schoen, Fox News contributor and Washington Times columnist Monica Crowley, and Republican strategist Noel Nickpour. She's also, by the way, running for Florida's 18th congressional district. That's Allen Westall seat, right?
You got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know the Clintons.
I do.
Okay. Is Gary Burns telling the truth?
You know, I don't really think it matters if he's telling
I didn't
the
ask
truth.
you if it matters.
I understand.
Monica, did I ask him if it matters?
These reports,
I asked him, is she telling the truth?
These reports have been out there time and time again.
Doug, I love you, but this is an important question.
Okay.
Answer truthfully.
Yeah.
Is he giving an accurate description of her?
I did not see anything similar to what
George Stephanopoulos did.
Well,
so did Dee Dee Myers.
I wasn't there every day. I was there once or twice.
Did you ever see her
week.
volcanic temper?
I never saw her volcanic temper, no. She kept her distance from the political operation.
You are so full of it. I've known you for years. You are just...
You know what? Here's the thing. Mrs. Clinton is making part of her campaign questioning Donald Trump's temperament. Well, we can ask the same exact question of Mrs. Clinton. What is not true about Donald Trump, who's a very steady, even-keeled person, for those of us who know him, actually is true about Mrs. Clinton. She's got a
irony, isn't it?
volatile, volcanic temper. But what the left does so effectively, including Mrs. Clinton, is projection. So they accuse their opponents of what they themselves are guilty of. This book, look, everybody knows how deeply corrupt both Clintons are. So that's already baked in the cake. People already know this about her. The problem for her with this book is that it reinforces this idea that you're going to get this all over again for another 4 years.
NBC, CBS, and all the mainstream media, they've been pressured to ignore it. And now they're going to do what they did to every other person that ever tells the truth about the Clintons. Smear, slander, besmirch.
They can besmirch. They cannot ignore this. They cannot ignore this book. And you know what?
So they're going to try and assassinate his character.
Absolutely. But here's the deal. Bill Clinton had actually a Teflon brand, because you remember when people were running, for office, they looked for Bill Clinton's endorsement. Hillary Clinton does not have that Teflon brand. There are a lot of people that just don't
She's a horrible
like her.
but she's not likable.
Look at SNL. Look at her character as depicted on SNL.
She's not, yeah, and she doesn't have Bill Clinton's charm. She doesn't have Barack Obama's prompter reading ability.
But she has a 6-point lead or more. She has a president with a 56% approval. And she has an electoral college advantage, which makes her overwhelmingly
That's
likely.
what I worry about the most. I do worry the electoral map does not favor a Republican ever.
Look, over many decades, the left has really done a number on this country, including flooding the zone in a lot of important states with illegals and all kinds of activity to try to tilt the map, okay? So they do have a built-in advantage. But the fact that it is so tight in so many of these battleground states, given the fact that Donald Trump doesn't have much support within his own party, has never done this before, and essentially has no money, is astonishing, Sean. And that tells me he can pull this whole thing off.
I think Brexit tells us a big part of the story, too, because immigration was a big part of what happened there. Similarly, the migration issue. All happening. You have the Orlando attacks. Issues seem to be lining up on every front for Trump. Maybe because he had a couple of bad weeks, but I thought a great week last week. If he keeps that up, does that change the polls?
Phenomenal. And you know what? There are things going on, like some people are coming around. Woody Johnson, big supporter of Jeb Bush. When you walked into his office, he had Jeb, exclamation point. Yeah. He was part of a group that did a breakfast for Donald Trump, I think last week on Wednesday. This is good. They're slowly moving.
You know, a lot of the big money people. A lot of news was made last week about the low number of money that he brought in, but he's also self-funding. Do these money people now come in?
Well, you can look at it two ways. And one way is he won the primary against a lot of the big money machines with not much money.
So he may not need as much.
You could look at it that way. You could look at it that, he may not need it. He's the anti-establishment candidate, and maybe that's part of his doing.
Doug, if the Clintons run the traditional campaign, I mean, they tried to make the case that that Donald Trump's position is racist. They're going to play the same old card that they always play. I'm not sure this environment is a typical environment.
Well, they're going to have $2 billion to see if you're right or wrong. They have a massive organization. They're focusing on the swing states. And as Noel says, a massive financial advantage. And Donald Trump's approval rating is about 10, 15 points lower than the secretary's. Look,
no, that's not true. They're about even.
70% negative,
Yeah,
55 for Hillary. Look, Sean, you have to recognize this election is teed up for Hillary. Monica's right. It's very, very close. But the Secretary of State is ahead in every swing state.
Barely.
But I also think because Donald Trump is such a unique political persona, he's got a lot more running room to turn these numbers around versus, say, a traditional Republican candidate who would start off with some of those negatives.
Who would best help him as VP?
You know what? I think Donald Trump has enough excitement on the ticket. So if I were he, I would go with somebody who knows how to govern. Maybe somebody a little bit more boring than Donald Trump, which would be good, which would offer reassurance. Trump has offered hope to a lot of voters, and now he's got to offer reassurance. And he can do that by choosing somebody who knows how to govern.
Noel, who do you like?
You know what? I think he needs to pick someone to where he can win Ohio, and especially the great state of Florida.
I don't think there's anyone there available. I would go with Newt Gingrich, and then I'd build a team of rivals.
Love Newt.
Yeah,
Great.
this is the smartest guy.
He could communicate with Congress.
100%. And they can get the job done because Congress has no backbone, and they're weak and timid and feckless and visionless. I think I just about summed it up.
Right.
So.
All you're saying is that Hillary will be the next president.
No, I'm not saying that.
Absolutely.
I believe Donald Trump is going to win this election.
I understand.
And I hope I'm right, because you know what? 4 more years of Obama is something the country doesn't need. Good luck.
Can't afford.
We can't afford it. When we come back, we need your help. A very